Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is Debbie, and you can see some cucumbers sliced up right now. We're getting ready to dill some pickles as well as bread and butter some pickles. Our dill pickles are going to be sitting in some lime for overnight, so I've already sliced those up and have already put those in the lime with my daughter's help. And they're sitting in some lime and water, and they will sit overnight for 24 hours, and then we will pickle them because they will become very brittle at that point. You need to be very careful that they do not break and when you're packing them into the jars. Anyway, this here is the sliced cucumbers for the bread and butter pickles. And now I'm getting ready to slice up the onions to go into our bread and butter pickles. I already have my cucumbers all sliced up and ready to go. And again, our other cucumbers that are sliced up are sitting in the lime water and will be in that overnight. And it just says to thinly slice about 2 pounds of onions, but I'm not doing quite that large of a batch of bread and butter pickles. I'm only doing a few jars. I'm not really sure how many that this is going to take, but probably 3 or 4. So I'm just slicing up my onions now. Very thinly sliced, as you can see. I am not the best at using a knife, but somehow it always ends up getting done without losing a finger, hopefully. I just make sure to do so very carefully, especially when you get towards the end of the onion. And there we have it sliced up, and I'll do the rest off camera. And now we are just getting ready to layer all of our cucumbers and our onions together. Our sliced onions and our cucumbers have been layered in thirds and sprinkled with 1/3 of a cup of pickling salt. And now we just added a layer of ice cubes on top of this, and it's going to sit for an hour and a half. And the rest of the recipe, if you're looking for this particular recipe for bread and butter pickles, is in the Ball Canning book on page 78. We are also making squash relish today, and we're just using a recipe from All Recipes for, or actually, sorry, Taste of Home. Taste of Home for the squash relish. So what I'm doing right now is I am just shredding 10 cups of yellow summer squash, which I'm actually going to mix mine with zucchini because I've had a lot of zucchini as well. And unfortunately, our refrigerator sometimes likes to freeze things if we put it in the bottom shelf, even though we have adjusted the temperature. We've had some issues with our refrigerator lately, and it had frozen a few of my zucchini and my squash, which I'm very unhappy about. But that is such the life. Sometimes that happens. We've had the refrigerator worked on a few times. Overall, it does work, but for some reason on the bottom shelf, it just likes to freeze certain things. So right now, I am just shredding up the 10 cups of squash, and then 2 large onions that are chopped, 1 large green pepper that's chopped, and then 6 tablespoons of canning salt, and 4 cups of sugar, 3 cups of cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of celery seed, ground mustard, and ground turmeric, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm going to get ready to make the rest of it in just a moment. And now we're on to chopping up the onion. We've got 2 large onions it says to chop, but I'm only doing about a half recipe. So I'm just going to do 1 large onion. The onions that I have are pretty large. And I already chopped up the green pepper and put it in there. That was 1 large green pepper, which I actually just used 2. I had half of a good one, and then I had a small one that had came off in the garden earlier today. And then we go on from there. And what we're doing right now is that we have put the canning salt, pickling salt into our bowl of shredded squash. We're just mixing it all together, and this is actually going to go into the fridge and sit overnight. I decided to go ahead and let it sit overnight. I've never done that. Honestly, I have just went ahead and pickled it put it in the jars pretty much straight away because the salt works within just a few minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. In fact, you can see that the salt is already working. It is bubbling and basically just taking a lot of the moisture out of the squash. Same thing that it does when you're making kraut or you're going to pickle and can coleslaw, things like that, more of a vinegar base. This is exactly the same thing that it does. It just takes the moisture out, and that's it. We're going to be putting it into the fridge for 24 hours. We also have our sliced cucumbers that are in the lime and water that's going to be sitting for 24 hours, so we will not be able to finish these tonight. This will be a tomorrow process, and so I'll do a part 2 on that. And we are getting ready to brine our other pickles that we're making. We're making some pickle halves, and we're getting ready to fill the jars there, get those in the water bath canner, and then can those. And then we also have some bread and butter pickles that are just about ready to be done. Took about an hour and a half for them to sit. They've got about 51 minutes left, and then we will be getting those canned up as well. So this is what we're doing right now. This is getting ready to go into the fridge. So here we are back with our bread and butter pickles. It's just about 30 minutes that's left, and then we will be finishing those up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a part 2 of this video, and you'll be seeing us do the rest of everything tomorrow morning. These we're just going to go ahead and finish offline, and you can check out the recipe in the Ball Canning book for the bread and butter pickles. And if you want to do that method, it is a great method. It works just fine, and just check it out. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video, part 2. Just like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out so you don't miss the part 2.